Sophia Ramirez had worked in many homes before, but nothing compared to the sprawling Carter estate in Greenwood Hills. The first time she stepped through its towering wrought iron gates, she felt as though she had entered a different world. A world of marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, private gardens, and rooms so large that her voice echoed when she spoke. She was still adjusting to it all, even after 3 months on the job. 15 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a library big enough to be a public hall, a kitchen that looked like something from a gourmet cooking show. Everything about the Carter estate whispered wealth and status. Everything except the master suite, where the owner spent nearly all his time. Nathan Carter, the 31-year-old tech prodigy who had built 2 multimillion-dollar companies before the age of 30, should have been living at the height of his success. But the man Sophia saw every day looked nothing like the glossy photos she had seen online. Nathan was sick, not just tired or stressed, truly, deeply sick. He spent nearly every hour in his master suite, lying in bed or slumped on the couch, coughing until his chest rattled, pale enough that Sophia sometimes worried he might faint if he tried to stand. Doctors came and went. Specialists examined him. Tests were run repeatedly, but every time results came back the same. Inconclusive. Stress, they said. Overwork. Psychosomatic fatigue. None of it felt right to Sophia. She had grown up in a cramped Los Angeles apartment, raised by a grandmother who knew home remedies better than most doctors. Her grandmother always said one thing: the body never lies. And Nathan's body was screaming for help. One Thursday morning, Sophia approached the master suite with her cleaning cart. She knocked softly. Nathan's hoarse voice answered, "Come in, Sophia. Please be quick. Today is not good." She opened the door and stepped into the room that felt more like a tomb than a bedroom. The curtains were always drawn. The air was heavy, stale, and thick with a faint dampness that clung to her senses. Nathan lay propped up against pillows, his skin almost translucent, dark circles carved beneath his eyes. "You've been like this since I started here," she said gently while dusting the bedside table. "You haven't improved at all." Nathan let out a humorless laugh, cut short by another violent cough. "I've seen 4 doctors already. They tested everything: lungs, heart, allergies. Nothing. They say it's stress, anxiety, burnout. They gave me medicine that does nothing except make me sleepy." Sophia paused, her fingers tightening around the dust cloth. "Do you spend all day in here?" "Mostly," Nathan admitted weakly. "The office in the morning, sometimes, but I always end up back here. It's the only place I can rest, even if I feel terrible." She scanned the room again. The curtains were drawn so tightly that barely a sliver of sunlight entered. The windows were always shut. Every time she stepped inside, she sensed something wrong, something beyond illness or stress. "May I open a window?" she asked. Nathan nodded. Sophia pulled the curtains aside, letting golden morning light spill through the room. The air shifted immediately, fresher, cleaner, less suffocating. She cleaned as quickly as she could, but when she approached the massive walk-in closet, something tugged at her senses again. A smell, faint but unmistakable, damp, rotten, toxic. She crouched down, sliding her fingers beneath the bottom edge of the closet. A shadowed patch clung to the corner of the wall, small but dark, damp, wrong. Her stomach tightened. She said nothing. Not yet. Not without proof. Over the next few days, Sophia observed something strange. Nathan felt better, not dramatically, but noticeably, when he spent time outside the suite. In the office, his complexion improved slightly. In the garden, the cough faded for hours. But the moment he returned to the master suite, the symptoms came crashing back with vengeance. It clicked in her mind like a truth she didn't want to accept. It's the room, and the room was killing him. One Tuesday morning, she found Nathan sitting in the office, looking more alive than she had ever seen him, still thin, still pale, but not suffocating in misery. "How are you feeling today, sir?" she asked. "I've been out here all morning," he said, rubbing his forehead. "No headaches, no chest pressure. Maybe the doctors are right. Maybe it really is stress." Sophia didn't respond. She couldn't, not until she was sure. That night, before leaving the estate, She returned to the master suite. Nathan was asleep, his breathing shallow but steady. She crept to the walk-in closet, crouching down again. The dark patch was still there, larger now, soft, almost spongy, and the smell hit her full force, rotting, stale, unmistakably toxic. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. Moisture grows where it's unseen, and it kills quietly. Sophia pulled back, her pulse racing. Fear curled around her like a tightening thread. Not fear of the mold, but fear of what would happen if she spoke up. What if Nathan didn't believe her? What if she offended him? What if he fired her? She was just a cleaning lady. He was a millionaire. But if she stayed silent, Nathan might die. That thought followed her home like a shadow. When Sophia entered her small downtown apartment that night, her younger sister Leah was cooking quesadillas on their old stove. The warm smell of cheese and peppers filled the room. "You look worried," Leah said immediately. "What happened?" Sophia sat down and told her everything, from Nathan's constant illness to the smell in the master's suite to the moisture hiding behind the closet. Leah's face drained of color. "Sophia, that mold could kill him. If he's breathing it every day, no wonder he's sick. You have to tell him. But what if he thinks I'm overstepping? Or lying to get attention? Or you're the only one who noticed." Leah cut in firmly. "This isn't about your job. This is about his life. You cannot stay silent." Sophia barely slept that night. The next morning, she arrived at the estate earlier than usual, her heart pounding. She found Nathan in the office again, coughing occasionally but looking far more alert than he ever did in his room. "Mr. Carter," she said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "I need to speak with you. It's important." Nathan blinked in surprise. "Of course. Sit." She didn't sit. Instead, she spoke. Carefully, clearly, explaining everything. The smell, the damp patch behind the closet, the correlation between his symptoms and that room. She explained how her grandmother had taught her to recognize toxic moisture. She explained how he always improved outside the suite. Nathan stood slowly, skepticism flickering his eyes, but also fear, a fear he could no longer dismiss. "Show me," he said. They walked upstairs together. Sophia led him to the closet, crouched, and pointed to the corner. Nathan leaned in, inhaled, and recoiled instantly. What is that smell?" Sophia held his gaze. "The room has been making you sick, sir." Nathan stared at the wall as if it held the answers to every miserable day he had endured. "I never noticed," he whispered. "I had no idea." "Mold grows quietly," Sophia said softly, "but it destroys loudly." Nathan straightened slowly, a new seriousness in his expression. "I'll call a contractor immediately. And thank you, truly." For the first time since she'd met him, he looked at her not as a housekeeper, but as someone who mattered that night as she left the estate. Sophia wondered how everything in her life had changed in just one moment, just one choice. And she had no idea how much more her life was about to change. The next morning came too early. Marcus had barely slept, not because he was afraid of what the day would bring, but because every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lily's small hand reaching for him as she was wheeled away. Every time he drifted toward sleep, he heard that intercom voice repeating code red. His mind replayed Dr. Chen's expression, professionally calm but undeniably urgent, as she whisked Lily toward the operating room. Now, sunlight filtered weakly through the hospital curtains, turning the room gold. Lily stirred in her bed. A small sound escaped her throat, half sigh, half groan. Marcus scrambled to his feet, hands braced on the railing. "Hey, superstar," he whispered, trying to keep his voice from trembling. "How are you feeling?" Lily blinked up at him, groggy but aware. "Thirsty," she murmured. He reached instantly for the small cup with a straw. "Doctor said you can sip a little." She took a small drink, then rested back against her pillow. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yes, baby?" "Did the blood help?" Marcus inhaled sharply. "Yeah, the blood helped a lot. It helped save your life." She nodded once, trusting him completely. Then her eyes drifted closed again. He stayed beside her until the door opened once more. Dr. Chen entered, this time with a small smile. "She's stabilizing beautifully," she said. "Honestly, better than expected. She's responding faster than predicted to transfusion and medication." Marcus exhaled slowly, as if someone had finally lifted the weight that had been crushing his lungs. "So she's going to be okay?" "She's on the right path," Dr. Chin said gently. "We'll keep monitoring vitals all day, but the worst is behind us." For the first time in hours, Marcus let himself sag into the chair, the adrenaline finally fading. Then the doctor asked something unexpected. "Do you remember exactly when you heard her cry for help? Timing matters for our report." Marcus frowned, replaying it. "About 30 minutes after I started donating." Dr. Chin looked surprised. "But donation only started coming out of line 15 minutes before she received it." She hesitated. "Which means you heard her before the transfusion even began." Marcus blinked. What are you saying?" "I'm saying," she said carefully, "parents often have instincts stronger than monitoring machines. It's remarkable. You reacted before any alarm did." He didn't know what to say. He just nodded silently. Hours passed. By mid-afternoon, Lily was sitting up, brighter, able to eat a little applesauce. Her cheeks had regained color, her pulse steadier, her voice stronger. Nurses and doctors visited often, always seeming a bit amazed at her progress. "She's recovering unusually fast," one nurse said quietly to another. Marcus overheard, but he didn't question it. He didn't care why. He just held his daughter's hand and stayed present. Around 4 o'clock, the door opened again, but this time it wasn't a doctor. It was the hospital director. And with him, a sharply dressed man in a full suit who looked wildly out of place in the pediatric wing. "Mr. Webb," the director said. Marcus stood automatically. "Yes." "I'm here with Mr. Donovan, head of the charitable foundation that sponsors several of our emergency programs." The suited man extended a hand. Marcus shook it hesitantly. "We've been reviewing last night's emergency protocols," Donovan said, "and your case was flagged. You donated unusually quickly, then maintained a stable pressure throughout the entire draw. Most donors faint after half the time you gave." Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable. "I just did what I had to." "That's precisely what caught our attention," Donovan said. "What you did was extraordinary." The director nodded. "And we want to offer something." Marcus stiffened. "If this is about paying—" No, Donovan said quickly. "You don't owe anything. This is us giving." He reached into his portfolio and slid out a packet. "We have a program," he said, "for people who demonstrate exceptional calm and capacity in emergency medical situations. It's a training initiative, fast-track certification, full scholarship. People who complete it often move into hospital emergency tech roles." Marcus stared. Donovan continued. "It includes a guaranteed job placement upon completion, benefits, salary increases, insurance." Marcus swallowed, a tiny, stunned sound. He glanced at Lily, who rested sleepily, then back to the men. I don't have money for school or training. That's why we're offering it." The director said warmly, "You saved a child's life last night, not just as a father, but with the presence of someone who could have been trained for this." Donovan smiled. "We'd like to give you the chance to make it official." Marcus didn't speak for a long moment. His eyes stung unexpectedly. "And," Donovan added, "we understand single parents often struggle with scheduling. This program gives flexible hours and childcare vouchers." That broke something inside him. "Why me?" Marcus whispered. "Because," the director said, "most people panic. You didn't. You reacted faster, donated faster, and stayed conscious long after most trained personnel would have passed out. We see potential. Real potential." Marcus sat slowly in the chair as the truth sank in. They weren't offering charity. They weren't offering pity. They were offering a future. A chance he never thought he'd get. A way out of paycheck-to-paycheck survival. A way to give Lily stability he thought was impossible. A way to become something stronger. He pressed a hand to his eyes, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," the director said gently. "We believe in you. Let us help." A soft voice interrupted them. "Daddy," Lily whispered. He turned immediately. "Yes, baby?" Her smile was slow and sleepy but real. "You saved me." Marcus leaned close, his forehead touching hers. "Always." She poked his chest weakly. "You're brave. Like a hero." Marcus felt his throat close. He turned back to men, cleared his voice, and said, "Okay, I'll do it." Donovan exhaled with a relieved smile. "Good. We'll arrange everything and start your schedule once Lily is fully recovered." 2 days later, Lily walked, slowly but steadily, out of the hospital, her small hand in Marcus's. The doctors lined the hallway to clap for her. She beamed, loving every second. Marcus thanked every nurse, every doctor, every staff member who had touched their lives. At the exit, Dr. Chin pulled him aside. "She's going to make a full recovery," she said. "She's stronger than she looks." "Yeah," Marcus said softly. "She gets that from her mom." Dr. Chin squeezed his arm. "And from you." He didn't argue. Outside, the winter sun glowed weakly. The city bustled. People moved on with their lives, unaware of the small miracle that had occurred inside those walls. Marcus lifted Lily into his arms, holding her close, breathing in her warmth. "Daddy?" "Yes." "Can we get pancakes?" He laughed, a real, unrestrained laugh that felt like sunlight bursting inside him. "Baby, we can get a whole tower of pancakes." As they walked toward their car, Marcus realized something. This wasn't just the end of a terrifying night. It was the beginning of a new life. A life where he wouldn't drown in fear. A life where Lily would grow up stable, safe, and loved. A life where he would finally be able to build something better. Lily rested her head on his shoulder. "Daddy, I'm glad you're my dad." Marcus pressed a kiss to her forehead, his voice thick. "I'm glad you're my everything." And as the wind lifted around them, carrying the scent of cold air and new beginnings, Marcus walked forward, not as a man who had almost lost his daughter, but as a father who had saved her life, a man who had been given a second chance, and someone who would never again underestimate the power of love strong enough to move before any alarm could.